Kyle is wonderful here. Breaking news. I can't believe my mind right now. As if this just crazy world of professional wrestling could get any more crazy with what we've gotten. And just look at the last 2 weeks alone. We've got CM Punk winning the title, then becoming injured, having to get surgery. Then Cody Rhodes gets injured, wrestles an amazing 5-star match with a torn pec, completely off the bone. Other stuff, all kinds of New Japan and craziness. NWA and all this stuff. But just like everything else in wrestling, it always comes down and always has come down to one man, or at least it has for 40 years now. Everything in wrestling has come down to one man and the wills of one man, and ding dong, the witch is dead. Wicked Witch is gone. Well, maybe because we might be bringing in the real Wicked Witch next. So Vince McMahon, 40 years reign as chairman, CEO, owner of WWE is over with. Vince McMahon, after the allegations that came out and all the controversy, and it was pretty much in the written in the record books of what Vince McMahon paid hush money for um affairs and pass people around, quote unquote, like toys and stuff like that. This news came out Wednesday. It was published by the Wall Street Journal. They had been investigating for a while. We don't know who the whistleblower was. Many names have been tossed around. Was it Stephanie? Was it Triple H? Was it Nick Khan? Was it the lockbox that Shane talked about? Was it Linda? Who knows? All we know is it didn't take more than 48 hours. Here we are. It is right now it's about to be 10 a.m. Friday morning. We found this news out about Wednesday afternoon. The news is now out, and it seems to be official from all accounts that I can find. Vince McMahon has stepped down from CEO of WWF/WWE. Apologies for the name. I can't wrap my mind around how this day actually happened without Vince either A, selling the company, or B, dying while still being in charge. I can't fathom in my mind that Vince McMahon is still alive and not going to be running the company, and he didn't sell the company. And of all people, it was reported only about 6 weeks ago, maybe even less. Maybe it's only been a month, because it just seems like a lot of time has gone by because of all the crazy news and Cody and CM Punk, and now we got Switchblade Jay White, and Matt Cardona's now injured, and it's just like all this craziness, but nothing compares to this scandal. The scandal seems to be legit, and what they wrote, Wall Street Journal wrote, other than this particular account of this unfortunate victim, it then opened the floodgates. Once they started investigating, they started finding all kinds of irregularities, and all kinds of floodgates open. If you followed Vince McMahon's career like I have, his 40-year career, you know that's a laundry list of things he could have been put away with. Vince McMahon just barely avoided going to federal prison over the steroids scandal, and he went to trial in 1993 and just barely escaped. They had gone as far as to have a contingency plan because they assumed that Vince McMahon was about to go to prison. Now, let's think about that before I go any further. Let's think about that contingency plan back in 1993, 1992 even, when they first might have found out. But the trial happened in 93. They were worried. They had all kinds of contingency plans, which included the ability, and this is pre-cell phone era, but there might have been the big brick phones, but who knows. But this included visiting and calling and all that Vince McMahon while in prison so that he can still run the company. And just as we think about it now, let's just, before I go any further, think about in our mind, well, does Vince McMahon stepping down as CEO and of WWE really mean that he's not going to have any influence in tonight's SmackDown? Tonight is SmackDown. Tonight could be the very first show in 40 years not written and produced and overseen, and I know that Vince has taken time off here and there, but I'm sure they still called him. Are they still going to call him, or are they going to run the show? Is Stephanie on her way to wherever SmackDown is tonight? Because Stephanie, if I have not said yet, Stephanie McMahon, who left 6 weeks ago, over this whole thing, her husband, Triple H, had built up this whole NXT dynasty, which included NXT UK, and he had plans for NXT Asia, NXT India, Japan, NXT Africa, NXT Southern America, all these grand plans Triple H had for the growth of WWE into the future and all this stuff. And we all loved the black and gold NXT that Triple H created. Well, Triple H had his heart problems, which I'm not going to say, I'm not going to sit here and be a conspiracy theorist and say, oh, maybe they slipped, maybe Vince slipped a pill and no, nothing like that. Like the legit heart problems was one thing, but to just completely take the man off his post, it seemed like Triple H lost all his power. Anybody that's associated with Triple H basically got fired, except for a few. Tommaso Ciampa's like one of the remaining few Triple H guys, and look at him. He's on the main roster. He can't get an entrance to save his life. He's wrestling matches, but he can't even get an entrance. Why? Because he's a Triple H guy. So right when we were thinking, oh, the Triple H, if you guys don't know, married Stephanie McMahon many years ago, legitimately 20 years ago in real life. Stephanie McMahon married Triple H. They've got 3 daughters together. Shane is out of the picture. Shane got fired right after the Royal Rumble this year, so it's not even been 6 months since Shane's been gone. Shane had already sold all his stocks and liquidated all his stocks and has no stake in WWE as it is. It was always, and if you know Vince McMahon's the whole daughter's girl thing, he was always going to give it to Stephanie. Then Stephanie even left, like I said 4 weeks ago, and Linda's been gone ever since her failed run for Senate, where she had to stop being CEO to run for Senate. And then when Vince McMahon spent over $100 million to get Linda on the U.S. Senate, and Linda failed. Vince McMahon never wanted anything to do with her ever again. So again, Vince McMahon. It was only Wednesday we found out about this Wall Street Journal article where they talked all about this hush money and stuff like that, and this is all recent. This isn't dragged out from 10 years ago. This isn't dragged out from 20 years ago. This is like 1 or 2 years ago, maybe even 3, and it had a long investigation. We don't know when exactly who or if or when the whistle was blown, but the whistle was blown. Vince McMahon, we all thought when we heard it on Wednesday, we're all like, yeah, but Vince McMahon's just going to make Johnny Laurinaitis and maybe even Bruce Pritchard, if he has to, be his fall guys. And Vince McMahon, he still owns all the power of the board of directors. They can't outvote him. You can't fire Vince McMahon. He created all this. He's the CEO. He's the owner. He's the founder. He holds most of the stocks. And now we're finding out Vince McMahon has stepped down after 40 years in charge of then WWF, now WWE. Vince McMahon has stepped down. His daughter Stephanie has been brought back in. The former chief brand officer now has become the interim CEO of WWE. No word about Shane, no word about Linda, no word about Triple H. Just the word that Stephanie McMahon, I almost called her Stephanie McMahon Helmsley, which is how weird is all of this. Like, it seemed like it played out on TV 20 years ago, and now it's real life with this power struggle. Is Stephanie in cahoots with Vince? Is she against Vince? Is Vince have anybody have his back at this current moment other than maybe Bruce Pritchard and a Johnny Laurinaitis, or are all 3 of them? Is Kevin Dunn gonna get kicked out of WWE finally? Are we finally gonna get rid of that as he's the main producer director guy, if you guys don't know, and always has been? Is this the new era of WWE that we've always wanted? So if you're like me, you've been watching WWE your whole life and you've fallen in love with the sport of professional wrestling. You hate that, oh, they're not called. If you're like me, you hate that Vince McMahon doesn't want them to be called professional wrestlers. He doesn't want the word wrestling uttered on his wrestling program. He's ashamed of the fact that he's associated with wrestling. He's just a businessman looking to do businessman things. He's friends with Donald Trump. He's friends with mobster, got links to the mob and all that different stuff. So I'm sure he had plenty of time with Jeffrey Epstein and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to say allegedly so I don't get sued, but just connect the dots. And going back to connecting the dots, I stopped myself maybe 5 minutes ago on my explanation of are you shocked at any of this came out? No. Vince McMahon seems like the biggest scumbag we've ever seen. Like I said, I've been a fan of WWE for now 30 years. So I was there for 30 of the 40 years that he's taken over. And I've gone, even when I was a kid, I watched stuff from the past when I went to go rent tapes from Blockbuster. I would rent a video game, NES, and then a Super Nintendo, and then I would get WrestleMania 3 or WrestleMania 5 or SummerSlam where Macho Man marries Miss Elizabeth. So I watched all the old stuff too, and I've seen this whole thing. I know the entire Vince McMahon story, and I know that he's a scumbag, and I know WWE by virtue is a scumbag company. But why do I watch it? Why do I review it? Because I'm a fan of professional wrestling, and I've been saying it over and over on these reviews and stuff, and on my podcast. Go check out. I got the Wonderful Wrestling podcast. I just released it about let's see, I don't know. I released it about 6 or 7 hours ago. It's already outdated. I talked about Jeff Hardy, Vince McMahon, and Sasha Banks at length on that, as well as my thoughts of the week in wrestling. But it was mostly about that news. And now, 6, 7 hours later, it's already outdated. Vince McMahon is gone from WWE. Like I said, Stephanie's in. I can't believe it. What a time to be alive, because I almost want to celebrate, because oh my god, all the stuff that this man has done wrong with the business. And I mean, there's the Vince McMahon supporters out there that say, "Oh, well, Vince McMahon got wrestling mainstream, and without Vince McMahon, you wouldn't have WrestleMania, and would you really have all these companies you could watch now, and would wrestling be as big?" And who knows the right answer? But what we do know is Vince McMahon bought his father's company, did everything that he told his father he wouldn't do, which is directly compete against all the other territories. Vince McMahon single-handedly destroyed the territory system. He didn't think ahead while doing that. He just wanted to win now and take all their companies and get on cable TV and become the only promotion in America, which in 2001 he eventually ended up doing. But it took a long time, and he, like I said, just barely avoided the steroid scandal in the middle of all that. But he got through that. Then right after the steroid scandal, WCW got Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff, the New World Order was born, and they almost took out Vince McMahon there. But eventually WCW folded. Vince McMahon bought WCW for pennies on the dollar. It was cheap compared to what it like all the ad they've made back more money just in DVD sales of all the WCW matches and tape library and stuff that they put on the WWE network eventually, their streaming service. They made back all their money, double, triple, quadruple, who even knows, maybe 100 times over what they spent on buying their competition WCW. They made it all back just by just on the WCW tape library, all the old shows being able to show them alone. But that in and of itself isn't evil. That's not inherently evil. That's just businessmen doing business things. They want to be the top. So how did Vince McMahon get there? Um, Begged from Paul, stole from Peter to pay Paul. All these different things, like I was telling you with the mob, allegedly, and getting enough money to A, buy the company from his dad, and then B, eventually hosting WrestleMania. But that's after he was able to buy all the top talent in the United States. So, like Hulk Hogan had become big on his own through the Rocky 3 movie. Hulk Hogan was in AWA. So, Hulk Hogan got bought and brought into WWF along with Mean Gene Okerlund and Bobby Heenan from AWA, among others. Like all the top stars around every territory at the time, everything was broken down into different territories. Not quite as much as many. There wasn't 50 territories, one for each state, but there was like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 territories, depending on how big and small you want to consider each one of an official territory. And they were all governed by the NWA, including Vince McMahon's father, Vince McMahon Sr., had the WWF, the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, part of the NWA. And when you're in the NWA, once you're an owner of one of the companies in the NWA, you have voting power for whoever the champion is going to be. So per se, like if everybody wanted Ric Flair to be champion, they all voted Ric Flair, and then Ric Flair would go around to each territory to defend his world title and that territory against whoever that territory's top star is. So that's how it was working before Vince came. Vince went and bought the all-stars of every single promotion out there, leaving every promotion out there to die slowly and slow and painful deaths, while Vince McMahon reaped the rewards and made all his money back in fistfuls, eventually leading him to be a billionaire. But it's not just the steroid scandal. You've got Vince McMahon covering up the alleged murder, Jimmy Snuka murdering his girlfriend in a hotel in a fit of rage or whatever, probably steroid related or CTE brain related, or maybe it was just an evil person. Either way, there's no excuses, but either way, Vince McMahon and the rest of WWF covered that up. So that's just one example of all these evil things that he's done. Of course, he's friends with Trump. I'm sure they were friends with Weinstein and all that. So even more evil on top of it. Again, you might be asking yourself, so why the heck again do you follow WWE? And why would you even like to the point where you're reviewing them and having streams about WWE 2K? Here's the point. I love professional wrestling, and no matter what, it's almost impossible for me to fully enjoy wrestling without seeing wrestlers when they come to WWE. So what I mean is, I know that at the end of the day, now at least we have AEW and New Japan's getting big. But I knew even when TNA was trying to do their thing and other stuff like that, at the end of the day, everybody's gonna when they get, I'm gonna any wrestler that I like from any other company is eventually gonna get approached by Vince McMahon and WWE with big money to come work for them. So I may as well just bite the bullet, watch WWE, be familiar with the product, and watch all my favorite people, such like a Kevin Steen. I was at the Kevin Steen farewell ROH show here in Detroit, and I was chanting "Thanks Steen, thanks" and stuff like that. And lo and behold, he's on NXT like a week or two later, getting his nose broken by CJ Parker, who is now Juice Robinson, who just recently had appendicitis and lost his U.S. title belt in New Japan, while Kevin Owens went on to like beat John Cena, win the Universal title, but then lose to Goldberg. So see what I'm saying here? Like there's so like even though Vince McMahon's this evil dictator of this evil company called WWE, I'm over here watching it because I like the wrestlers. I was a fan of Kevin Owens before he was Kevin Owens. He was Kevin Steen. I was always I've been a fan of AJ Styles since 2004. All these wrestlers are eventually going to go to the big times because they want to have a good life for their family. They want to send their children to school. They want to send their grandchildren to college. These are reasons that wrestlers eventually join the WWE. For example, look at Shinsuke Nakamura, someone that we loved in New Japan, who who was throwing down classic match after classic match. And we were really excited to have Shinsuke Nakamura join WWE. And it started out strong with the debut match in NXT against Sami Zayn, one of the best WWE slash NXT matches. It would definitely be in any top 25 of all time, in my opinion, of the entire history of WWE and NXT. That debut match by Shinsuke. Ever since then, he's slowly but surely, Shinsuke, that is, has developed into this relaxed style where it doesn't look like he's trying as hard and he's just kind of saving his body. So basically what I'm trying to say is people, even from the age, say I start wrestling at 18 years old, I'm putting my body through hell because these young kids, these young wrestlers, a lot of times think the only way to get noticed is to just absolutely put your body through living hell and see, we're over here glorifying things like Mick Foley getting thrown off a cage and Cody Rhodes wrestling through a completely torn from the bone pec muscle with it swollen up 5 sizes its normal size. We glorify things like that, and then when it comes to reality, these 18-year-old wrestlers and 19-year-old and 20 and maybe even all the way up to 30 that want to get noticed and haven't gotten noticed start trying to do things like go through tables and oh yeah, we've gone through tables a few times. Now let's light it on fire. Well, we've done that a few times. Now let's put broken glass underneath the lid on fire table and see how it just escalates and escalates and escalates. So that, oh, I saw this other 18-year-old was doing this, so he outdid me. So now I got to go outdo him because I'm trying to get my name known because I want that big money. All of this to say, they do all that and then they get the big money contract. And you can go back to the promo that Miz had against Daniel Bryan on Talking Smack about 5-6 years ago. And that whole conversation was about the different philosophies of thinking about how you want to wrestle. Do you want to be that crazy wrestler that has 5-star matches but also has a tendency to get injured like Daniel Bryan, or do you want to be that safe wrestler who's more character driven and very safe in the ring but never really above a 3 and a half star match while always never getting injured on this at the same time? So that's what the Miz was saying See, I'm over here wrestling safe. You might call it a coward's way out, but I'm saying you're over here not able to wrestle with a neck injury, and I'm here every week. So basically, wrestlers get to WWE, make their money, and then start coasting because the WWE has just become a content creator, and it's been that way for years and years and maybe over a decade. Um, Purely WWE is only a content creator, which this whole like podcast I'm doing right now is about Vince McMahon stepping down and Stephanie coming in, and like I'd said, the whole ding dong, the witch is dead, and celebrate good times. Come on, like stuff like that. Like it's not just WWE's not gonna like we're not gonna turn on SmackDown tonight and it's gonna be three different 5-star matches and we're gonna have a title match where Roman loses the Riddle all of a sudden, which legitimately could happen, but you never know. Like, but I don't think everything's gonna change and everything's just gonna be completely different than it was. Stephanie has been running this company for a long time and knows how everything works. And if she brings Triple H in, they'll kind of run things just like Vince McMahon, especially at the very beginning. But if we can get Stephanie and Triple H to be the full-time owners, then maybe we can get it to look a little bit more like NXT Black and Gold, but with money and um, more time and all that resources. And so that's the dream right there. The dream is to get NXT Black and Gold, Stephanie, Triple H. They're never on camera. They're just behind the scenes, running things. Maybe we can get someone like Regal or someone along the likes of Regal to go scout talent from all across the world again. And we can make WWE will still be the place where everybody goes to wind down their careers and stop doing the dangerous stuff so they can actually make money for a change, because it's this giant business where they get $1 billion from Fox here, $1 billion from NBC Universal there, and $100 million from the Saudi government here. So they're rolling in the money. They barely even need fans to show up. They barely even need to have ratings because now that everything's about streaming and stuff, live TV dominates the market as far as advertising money. Everybody wants live television to have their advertising on, as opposed to like a hour drama show where people are definitely going to fast forward. But there's a chance that if it's live, people are going to watch it live and not at a delayed time and skip through the commercials. That's how that works. So all of this to say WWE still going to be making fistfuls of money, still going to be making billions of dollars, probably still going to be taking blood money from the Saudi government, probably still going to be like pushing people like Lacey Evans and Roman Reigns, and nothing like that's probably going to change. But we can always hold out hope, because this man, whether you love everything he did for the business or not, you can't admit that Vince McMahon is a creep. He's done things on air that make him look like a complete creep. And sure, you could say, "Oh, that's just a TV show and they're just characters and they're just doing what they're told." Exactly. That's the point. Who's the one telling them? Who's the one that said, "Hey, Trish Stratus, you've been doing a good job, so I'm gonna get you basically a promotion and more TV time. Here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna be like my sex slave, and you're gonna be like everybody is gonna boo because like Linda's over here and you're over here making out with me, and then after that's all said and done, then guess what you're gonna do, Trish? You're gonna bark like a dog and eat dog food in the ring and be on your knees in front of me. Like, how does all that sound? You're gonna make big money. You're gonna make all kinds of merchandising by being on TV extra. What do you think Trish Stratus is gonna say to Vince McMahon? And again, the whole point of that conversation was, who's the one making up the rules of this world and who's the one making up what's gonna happen? Vince McMahon. So all you need to do is look at all the creepy stuff he's made these women under his employment do to him, and just under the guise of, oh, it's just the character and it's just a TV show. None of this is real. Meanwhile, he's over there making the biggest hottest chick on the roster bark like a dog in front of millions of people. And like making out with Vince McMahon and stuff like that. And she's not alone. The whole meme with Stacy Keibler's legs up on his Vince McMahon's shoulders. We're told by many, many people that Vince McMahon wanted to run on storyline when Stephanie first got pregnant with her first child. Many people have confirmed this rumor that Vince McMahon wanted to run a storyline on his television show where the father of Stephanie McMahon's baby was indeed her father, Vince McMahon, as in Vince McMahon and Stephanie had sex, and he wanted to write that on his show. You can think of that how you will, how disgusting or not that is. It's probably pretty disgusting, though. I'm assuming that's what you're thinking. When Vince couldn't get people to agree to that, namely Stephanie wouldn't agree to that, he's like, "Oh well, how about Shane be the father then, her brother and his son?" So this guy's just a freak. This guy wants his. We saw it on Monday night. What does Vince love? Vince loves young, muscular men like Austin Theory. How many times have we caught Vince McMahon watching Austin Theory's butt in all these um, storylines they've got where like Austin Theory's in Vince McMahon's room, and now the main event of Raw last week was a pose down with so much baby oil involved and big muscly men posing. And meanwhile, Vince is over there. Whoa, wow, look at the muscles. Look at the traps on that guy. Like, just perverted Vince. I can't believe this is happening, but I'm glad it did. Maybe no more baby oil pose down segments for our main events anymore. But like I said, not everything's just going to change overnight. Stephanie knows this business like the back of her hand. She's probably going to run things exactly like Vince would have done it. And I'm assuming Vince is still in charge, and this is just um, a way to get the Wall Street Journal and the rest of the shareholders in the stocks and the rest of the board of directors off of Vince McMahon's back. I'm assuming Vince will do anything to say, "Oh, I'm not CEO. I'm not going to do any of this business stuff." And then I'm sure everybody that is in charge now is going to call Vince McMahon, "Hey, what should we do here? What do you want to do for the main event? Should Roman Reigns beat Riddle tonight?" And Roman's and they're gonna do whatever Vince says. So I'm assuming that's how it's still gonna be, at least at the beginning here. We never know what's gonna happen in the future here. Uh, I'm not saying this, I'm not wishing it, I'm not willing it into existence. But a lot of times when stuff like this happens, you'll either have him people will legitimately pass away. Their heart couldn't take it anymore. All they lived for was the whatever job they had, and when their job is now gone, or if it's sometimes when they lose a spouse or stuff like that. But you know Vince McMahon, he lives, breathes, and he's all about. I'm not going to shed a tear for him, like I said though. There's no part of me that can shed a tear for Vince McMahon losing his baby here, because he is just proven time and time again to be a complete scumbag who will cover up murders, who will cover up rapes, who will rape people and then pay them money to shut up about it and stuff like that, allegedly. So allegedly do all that stuff. So I'm gonna get going. I'm gonna myself gonna watch some more info. If any more news comes out, I'll get back on before SmackDown. Otherwise, I'll be back on tonight with SmackDown, Rampage, and NXT Level Up reviews, all individually. And if you want, I put out about 7 hours ago the flagship of our channel, Wonderful Wrestling Podcast is up. It's talking all about Jeff Hardy, Vince McMahon, and Sasha Banks, and the rest of the week of wrestling. But wow, that some of that news is already outdated. But I do talk about Vince McMahon more in depth than that, so go check that out. And thanks for tuning in. I'll be back later, and I might have a stream up at some point as well. So thanks for tuning in. And again, Vince McMahon gone from being CEO, Stephanie McMahon in. We don't know exactly what she's going to do, but we'll go from there. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll talk to you next time. Peace.